Hello, and welcome back to Massachusetts Law Reform Institute's podcast, Let's Clear the Record, Empowering Tenants Through Eviction Record Sealing. My name is Tyler White. I'm a legal fellow at MLRI, where I work on eviction record sealing. As of June 3rd, 6,833 petitions to seal eviction records have been filed across Massachusetts, and 83% have been approved. That translates to thousands of renters who have been able to mitigate a major barrier as they search for new housing. And as we know, stable housing is the linchpin to everything in life, from access to employment, education, healthcare, and more. Eviction record sealing empowers tenants to start fresh, and none of that would be possible without the steadfast leadership of legislators that champion policies that promote social justice and equity. It is a privilege to be joined by today's guest, Massachusetts State Senator Lydia Edwards. Senator Edwards was elected to the State Senate in 2022 and represents Revere, Winthrop, and several parts of Boston. She is currently chair of the Judiciary Committee and vice chair of the Housing Committee. Prior to becoming a senator, she served as Boston City Councilor, led Boston's first ever Office of Housing Stability, and was a legal aid attorney. Senator Edwards has filed and advanced major legislation to make housing more affordable and accessible. Senator, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me. Very excited.
So you recently celebrated the one-year anniversary of the eviction record sealing law with a press conference at the State House with several key partners who helped get the law passed. What was it like getting to celebrate the impact of the law?
I will say we recently celebrated it because MLRI was one of the biggest partners in helping to draft and pass and cry when we got so close. So I do want to give credit to MLRI. I think I've been working on this particular legislation since 2018 with MLRI. But how did it feel? It felt surreal that we were celebrating and also still felt like we were being called to act and move. And I like that. I like the fact that we weren't just celebrating what we did. We were announcing what we still need to do. And I appreciate that.
That leads me to my next question, actually. So at the press conference, you mentioned that you wanted to improve the law. What improvements do you feel would be good at this point?
Well, we're seeing that so many of the evictions are dismissals and when the tenants win. And I think we could make it even faster for those folks because a lot of times if you win, you leave and you move on. You don't want to go back to court. You don't even think about that moment in your life. If it's dismissed, you genuinely think it's over. And so for us to ask people to come back and seal after dismissal, it's still, I think, an unnecessary step when it's a right that they have in the law. So I think it would be very efficient if we just made that automatic. If you win that day as a tenant, it should be, that's part of your winnings. And if you get it dismissed because you worked out a deal and you did what you're supposed to do as a tenant, then I don't think we should require any more from you.
Yeah. You mentioned efficiency. So is that sort of a lens that the court can look through when you're talking about dismissals and judgments for the tenant and sealing those automatically?
I think it's efficient for the court.
Yes.
It's efficient for the tenants as well. So, and that's what we really want. We're not trying to burden the courts. We really are not. And as Judiciary Chair, I have been honored and invited to come out to many a courtroom out in Western Mass and in Southern Mass, of course in Boston, the BMC. And so these are hardworking individuals. This is a hopeful partnership that we will continue to have with them because I want to say the dashboard that they have up, their continual communication with us and how things are going, I think it speaks to incredible good faith from the courts, and I want to continue to move in that good faith, and I think this would help both parties.
So this is sort of an interesting perspective here that I'd like you to weigh in on. I know you're a small property owner. How does that factor into your perspective on eviction record sealing and the value of the law?
Well, I think by being a landlord, a lot of landlords, including my friends, had no idea that when we were filing notices to quit, because that's the law. You can't just tell your tenant to leave. Whatever the reason is, the law is you have to go to court. And every single time, we never had to go to trial. My tenants and I worked it out. But I didn't know that I was creating a permanent record. A lot of landlords don't realize that. They also think once it's done, it's done. So I think that it gave me a perspective that wasn't based in bad acting landlords. It was just in landlords' perspectives. No one here is saying that evictions should never happen or that tenants are perfect. What we're saying is, how long does this need to be public? How long does a person have to be defined or even have this part of their record? And every landlord that I spoke to who would talk to me about this felt that this system was fair. I think a second chance is something everyone should have, as a landlord and as a tenant.
Absolutely. That's a valuable perspective. And it's important to remember that landlords and tenants are not necessarily enemies. They can work together to come to an agreement, come to an understanding where the tenant can remain housed, the landlord can get paid, but working something out for both parties. It's very important. On a different track, you've had some experience holding pop-up eviction record sealing clinics. How have you seen those clinics impact the people who come there for assistance?
So I wanted to, again, just note that it wasn't me just hosting it. It was a whole team effort, including MLRI. It included Harvard Law School students. It included Recovery on the Harbor. It included so many different partners. And we hosted our first one with Rep Burrell, and he suggested that we include Corey sealing. That clinic, I know we hit the right tone and we had the right, as the kids say, vibe. You know, having food there, having babysitting there, it became more like a community service. You're just coming here like you would do at any other community center. There was no judgment. People walked in when I think they felt that these people are here to help me if I want it, inform me if I need it, and feed me if I'd like it. And that's the point of the eviction sealing clinics. And we've had 3 now so far. But then, in a good way, a great way, the Attorney General has, what she always does is amplify good work and now helping it to become truly statewide and giving out grants. I'm not saying that they're getting dinner and babysitting at all of theirs. I mean, that's a special one from Senator Edwards. But I will say what the Attorney General did is make sure that there is no area in the state that doesn't have eviction record sealing. What she did is make sure that there wasn't a concentration in the Boston area. So I think from the way that people have responded to it to honestly the way it's been amplified, it's been a really good thing. And I probably won't be doing it as much, but maybe we'll have an annual big one.
Yeah, that's great. Along those same lines, so maybe you can't hold as many as you'd like, but other legislators perhaps can step in and fill that void.
We're hoping. We had a great training at the State House for staffers, and we even produced a small little manual. So if someone was interested in just setting up their own sealing clinic, that they could. And what I saw, again, from those who were being trained was genuine interest, excitement. I will say as a legislator, it's one thing to pass laws, but a lot are not part of the implementation. And I think that comes from my being a legal services attorney. It's not enough. I just can't say like, oh, pat myself on the back. There's some pretty paper and words done. It brings me back to my days as a public interest attorney where I was about implementing and making it real for people.
Yeah, and you touched on it. So you're a legislator now, you were a legal aid attorney. What do you see as the benefit of legislators partnering with legal aid to do these clinics? Can you just talk about that collaboration?
Well, I think a lot of times legislatures have no idea what legal aid attorneys are doing. We know that they're doing good stuff, but I think it's really important for them to see you in action. And so I think that's the first thing that's the most important is you see us all the time. You come to our offices and so on and so forth, but now we're seeing you. We're seeing how you welcome everybody, how you make people feel dignified and dignity. And we're also seeing, despite sometimes scarce resources, that you're going down fighting. So women with their kids and holding in one arm and trying to go through tax forms with the other. I think it's important that people see that. So when we do our walk on the Hill for MLAC, which is the legal aid funding organization, it's to make sure that there's a dignified salary, but also resources for some of our guardian angels out there.
Yeah. Our last episode was about outreach and just the importance of getting the word out about the law. What creative strategies do you have to help get the word out in your community about the benefits of sealing?
Food.
Food is...
The clinics are great. And what we found is people sometimes, listen, they'll come in for a meal and then we ended up sealing somebody's record. She didn't realize she had one. So that's one thing in terms of outreach. Partnering with anchor institutions is something we're starting to do more of. So the social centers in East Boston, our senior centers, and really actually letting them do the kind of vetting and outreach and talking. Anybody have or been to court, and housing court? So maybe we should see if you have an eviction record. A lot of people forget about it. They don't know. And then going from there so that it's more like a partnership than us trying to bring people and also do the services. It's just the people automatically come every Wednesday, or people come to pick their kids up from daycare, and just working with the YMCA to make sure that maybe the 1st and the 15th of the month, there's always a lawyer there to do sealing.
Can you talk a little bit about partnering with tenant organizations and just the power of tapping into that community?
Honestly, tenant organizations on the ground are vital to this. They are the bridge between the services and the people. And one of the things that I am so grateful for those organizations is the sense that they instill in a lot of tenants, you are worthy of the fight. And there is no shame. And I remember one organization, I watched their tenant meeting. It was City Life in Jamaica Plain. And I will never forget, they have the person come up there, they ask, will you fight for yourself? And they say, yes, I will. And then they have a little sword. And then we will stand with you, and they have the shield. And it was just like, we're one. Not everyone has access to a lawyer. Not everyone understands what lawyers are saying, as much as we try. There is something powerful about people that look like you, that are willing to fight with you, and instill in you, you are worth the fight. Because a lot of people in this kind of capitalist and legal system, your value is based on how much money you have and your ability to afford a good lawyer to fight for you. Then somehow you're worthy of that second chance by a lot of people's standards. And I don't believe that. And I think these organizations are dedicated to completely destroying that sense. And I'm happy about that.
Something I'm interested in talking a bit about is evictions, unfortunately, disproportionately affect certain demographics. Are you seeing in some communities that this law is really having a transformative effect for folks who are most affected by evictions, that this sealing law is an opportunity to really spring forward and try to find new housing?
Yeah, I mean, when we can get to them, we've only been around for a year. So I don't think we'll really be able to say, and the deep healing, personal healing, societal healing, that this law will have, not in 1 year. But I know fundamentally it is changing lives. I know it. And I know that as we make it easier, it'll change even more lives.
Yeah. All right. Before we wrap up, I was wondering if there was anything that you wanted to talk about in particular.
I'll just say this, eviction sealing spreading. Every single week I get another notification about other states that are trying small versions of this or trying a version of it in eviction sealing and really questioning, why are we doing this permanently? I think to see it be a universal, bipartisan question, does someone deserve a second chance or not? And I think regardless of your politics, the answer is always yes.
It seems like common sense, at least in this circumstance, has won out.
We hope.
We hope.
Is winning out.
It was really wonderful to sit and have this conversation with you, Senator Edwards, one of the original champions of the eviction record sealing law. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
For more information on eviction record sealing, you can visit sealmyeviction.org, which features frequently asked questions and practical information about the process of sealing an eviction record. Thank you all for tuning in, and stay tuned for the next episode. Until next time, this is Let's Clear the Record, empowering tenants through eviction record sealing, signing off.